All right, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Sam. I'm the Adult Services Librarian here at Newton Public Library in Newton, Kansas. Thank you all for joining us, whether you're watching on Zoom or on Facebook Live. Really excited to have with us virtually this evening Roxie Yonkey, the travel writer of Roxie on the Road and the author of the new Kansas travel and tourism book, 100 Things to Do in Kansas Before You Die. I'm about to turn it over to Roxy, but first I've got a few quick plugs for stuff that's coming up at the library. Um, so I guess November, Thanksgiving, of course, we're going to be closed on Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving. So that'll be nice for the staff. And then coming up on Tuesday, December 7th, we've got another author talk right back here on Zoom. That's with Evie Yoder Miller. And she has written a whole trilogy of Civil War historical novels called Scruples on the Line, which focus on the Mennonite community during the Civil War. So I know there's a lot of Mennonites in our community and people with Mennonite heritage. So that should be really interesting. And then the other adult event on Zoom in December is on Tuesday, December 21st at 7 p.m. when we'll have Denise Lowe and Ramon Power, and they will give a talk about their new book, Northern Cheyenne Ledger Art by Fort Robinson Breakout Survivors, which is it's a book that shows the art by these Native American warriors who created it on ledger pads as they were awaiting their execution in the Dodge City Jail in 1879. So that should be really interesting. One more thing that was just added actually is on Saturday, December 18th from 3 to 4:30, we are having an all ages crafting time in the Bessemer room. So that's going to be an in-person one. And it's for literally all ages from like young toddler preschooler types up through 120 or whatever. So, whether you come with your kids or just come by yourself, it should be a lot of fun. We have a whole ton of crafting supplies that I think kind of the pile started looming larger and larger during the COVID inability to have crafting together. So we're bringing them all out and hopefully get a lot of them used to make holiday and Christmas crafts. So that's probably enough about the library. I will just say for this, Roxy's going to give her talk, which I'm really looking forward to. And then we'll have time for Q&A after that. So you can participate. Those of you on Zoom, there is a Q&A button, which has two little talk bubbles. You can click on that and type your questions in there at any point during the presentation. And then I will just save them for the Q&A time and pose them to Roxy. And then those of you on Facebook Live, I've got that up on my phone. So just type your questions or comments in Facebook Live, and I will pass those along to Roxy as well. So without further ado, Roxy, take it away.
Well, thank you very much, Sam, and I appreciate the opportunity with the Newton Public Library. I should say that I will be actually in Newton on Kansas Day at the Coffin Museum. We don't have the time set up yet, but I will be there on Kansas Day, January 29th of, can you believe this, 2022. So I hope to meet many people there. It'll be a lot of fun. Well, a Kansas author should be doing a book signing on Kansas Day. So I'm very excited to have it in the Coffin Museum, home of the exhibit that's traveled around the state, K is for Kansas. So I just thought that was just perfect. So I'm Roxie Yonkey of Roxie on the Road. And I'm hoping that I can get this to work. There we go. Doing this on Zoom is a little different than what I'm used to doing. There we are. There I am. Roxie on the Road. I'm obviously Roxie Yonkey. As it says, I've been writing about Kansas for 30 years in newspapers, magazines, online at roxieontheroad.com. Excuse me. And I'm the co-author of Midwest Road Trip Adventures and the author of 100 Things to Do in Kansas Before You Die. I wrote the Kansas chapter in Midwest Road Trip Adventures and part of the South Dakota chapter. And then it was my privilege to write 100 Things to Do in Kansas Before You Die, which came out October 1st. So as I go around the state, I have more than 30 statewide events. People ask me, what do I do with the book? Well, besides read it, there we go. And if you're wondering where the pictures were taken, I do have a title on each picture. One of the things that always bugs me about a calendar is where in the world is this picture from? So this one happens to be at Ad Astra, the statue on top of the Capitol building in Topeka. And I took this picture from the balcony of a hotel there called the Senate Suites. So your first option is the local passport. And I highly recommend this. It becomes a travel journal. When you go to the place, have someone there sign or initial it, date the page, note who went with you, and add notes in the margin about what you did there and whether you enjoyed it or whatever. Let's say that, during a pandemic time, we spent a lot of time being trapped in the house. Fortunately, it's not that way. But if you're bored, just grab the book, open up a page, close your eyes, put your finger wherever it is, and get in the car and go wherever that was. You're going to have guests, don't know what to do with them, put it in their nightstand, and they can figure it out. Same thing with your kids, school break. What am I going to do with the kids? Get them out of the house with 100 things to do in Kansas before you die. Your children are now out of the house, haven't seen them for a while, and I've had several people say they're going to do this. They're going to send the kids a book, tell them, pick a destination, we'll all meet there. So you have a chance to meet up with your kids, meet up with your buddies, whoever you want to meet up with. It'll be great. Got somebody moving into the house next door. You need Christmas gifts, birthday gifts. There you go. Welcome gift, give it to new hires at work. You're getting a new member of the family. Anybody who's coming into your life that you would like to introduce yourself to, introduce Kansas to, give it to the new hires, new family members. Venture starter. Unfortunately, we have a reputation in this state of having nothing to do. Obviously, that is not true, or I wouldn't have managed to cram 400 things into the book, 100 things to do in Kansas before you die. So if someone tells you that there's nothing to do in Kansas, start their adventure with the 100 things to do in Kansas before you die book. And then check your own bucket list, go through the book and decide which places that you are dying to go to before you die and do them. And then people to have the idea that, okay, the only time you really can go on a break is when the kids are out of school. Well, as a person without kids, it's a lot nicer to go to places when the kids are in school because there's generally fewer people around. And there's plenty of things to do in Kansas, no matter the season. So starting with the fall, which we're technically still in, go to, excuse me, number 21, Lewisburg Cider Mill in Lewisburg, and sip some cider, pick some apples. Go to K-State football games and do the Wabash. Every year, Elk Falls has the Outhouse Tour, and they award a chamber pot to the most popular outhouse. So go choose your wooden throne in number 39, Elk Falls. It's in far southeast Kansas. In the winter, join the party in Waukene, Christmas City of the High Plains. I will be there at their Christmas lighting ceremony on Saturday, and I'm greatly looking forward to it. My husband and I always enjoy going there, and this year I get to do a book signing. In Lecompton is a very historic city, and a lot of the activities there center around its history. But in the winter, Lecompton is host to a lot of bald eagles. In fact, the original name of the town was Bald Eagle. So go and watch the bald eagles in Lecompton. And of course, we can't forget KU basketball. So go to some KU games and chant Rock Chalk Jayhawk. In the spring, go to Maxwell and roam where the buffalo call home. In a birders paradise at number 53, Cheyenne Bottoms near Great Bend. And rock your world at Little Jerusalem State Park, south of Oakley, number 56. In the summer, embrace the beautiful game, soccer, with number 45, Kansas City, Sporting Kansas City. And melt away stress at number 94, Prairie Lavender Farm in Bennington, which is north of Salina. All you have to do when the lavender flowers are in bloom is just breathe deeply and your spirit will be rejuvenated, I promise. And reel in your big fish at Milford Reservoir, number 54. Okay, what people want to know. So in my tour of the state, people have been asking me these questions. How did you choose the 100 things? Well, the publisher required the book to have 5 categories: food and drink, music and entertainment, sports and recreation, culture and history, shopping and fashion. And I had to balance however many things there were in each one. And some of them I could fit into several categories. So sometimes it was, okay, well, I need a few more to pad this category, so I'll shift this 100 things into this category. Because you want the categories to be somewhat equivalent. You don't want them to be all 100% culture and history. And Kansas does have a lot of culture and history, so I did have some issues getting that balanced out. Of course, some of the choices were obvious, like the Eisenhower Library Museum and Library Museum and Boyhood Home in Abilene. He's our only president, so he definitely has to be in there. And then I had wanted it not be just one region, not be just urban, not be just rural. I needed to balance all of those. And we did want some things that were not well known, like Elk Falls. Have I visited every one of the 100 things? No. Some of them I didn't get to go to because I had COVID when I was going to go visit them, and some of them are because they were not open, and in some cases are still not open because of COVID. But the ones that I had not visited at the time of publication, but visited afterwards, yes, I'm happy that they're in the book. How did I write this book? Midwest Travel Network, which is an organization that puts travel writers together with communities, held a Facebook Live broadcast, kind of like this one, with Reedy Press out of St. Louis. And while I was watching it, I Googled 100 things to do in Kansas before you die, and nobody had written that book. So I did the paperwork the next morning, and I got the contract. And of course, I want you to buy the book. So if you buy the book through my store, roxieontheroad.com/shop, it will come autographed. Attend one of my book signings. which of course I will also autograph the books to you at the signing. Visit a local bookstore or buy online. And my signing schedule is at roxieontheroad.com/signings. And this is, I see that my little title that shows where this place is disappeared. So this is actually Point of Rocks in Elkhart. It's on the Santa Fe Trail. And just as I was leaving, the sky turned this kind of strange color, and I snapped a picture before I fled to avoid the storm. So if you want to find me on social media, all my handles are at Roxie on the Road, hashtag Roxie on the Road, 100 Things KS and 100 Things KS book tour. And obviously my website is roxieontheroad.com. And here we go. Questions? Whatever you would like to ask.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Roxie. Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. I turned off the, turned off the share. So yes, those of you with questions, go ahead and type them in the chat or use the Q&A button, and I will feed them to Roxie. I guess to get us started, you said you've been writing 30 years as a travel writer. Is that right?
Not as a travel writer. I started my career at the Goodland Daily News as a sports editor. I intended to be there for a year. 4 years later, I married the man at the next desk, and I've been in Goodland ever since, with a short stint in Syracuse, working at the Syracuse Journal.
Oh, cool. So this is your second travel book. How did you get into travel writing specifically?
I was working for Sherman County Convention and Visitors Bureau and Visit Kansas I-70 Association, and those jobs went away. And I came down here to my office, and I was staring at the computer, wondering what the next thing was. And of course, if you're on your computer, generally you have your hand on a mouse. And I was staring at the computer, thinking to myself, okay, Roxie, what are we going to do now? And I heard a voice in my head say, what is in your hand? And I thought, what do you mean, what is in my hand? A mouse? Okay, well, I guess I'm going to be a travel writer. So a few months after that, it was either right at the time we were ending lockdown or we had just gotten out. I can't remember for sure, but I got a call from Sarah Browers of the Midwest Travel Network, and she said, I have 5 minutes before I have to get in a Zoom call, but she says is going to call you and you need to say yes. What? Say yes to what and who? Sorry, I can't stay. I can't explain, but she's going to call you. Just say yes. And I was sitting in my recliner and I'm staring at the phone thinking, well, Cheeseheads must be Wisconsin, right? So I just stared at the phone until a phone call came from Danelle Gay from Wisconsin Cheeseheads. And she said, I'm putting together a book and I need writers for each Midwest state. Would you write the Kansas chapter? Well, of course I said yes. So that's how book number 1 arrived. Okay, have I ever visited the Rickery Breaks? Yes, I've been to the Rickery Breaks many times, and I belong to your group, Sherry Gregory. So yes. And thank you for sharing that on your group.
Oh yeah, cool. Can you tell, for those who might not be familiar, could you tell us a bit about what the Rickery Breaks are and what you can do there?
Oh, the Rickery Breaks are beautiful. Now, I also write for TravelAwaits.com. And not that long ago, I wrote a piece on there called, I can't remember the exact title, but something, Shatter the Myth that Kansas is Flat. And one of the exhibits in my case was the Rickery Breaks. So the Rickery Breaks are north of St. Francis, in as far northwest as you can get in Kansas. You can actually go stand on the Colorado-Kansas Nebraska Tri-Point in the breaks, and they're a set of very deep Luss, and that's spelled Loess. For years I thought that was Lois, but I've been informed that it's Luss. Very set of deep Luss canyons carved into the soil. And if you like cowboy history, the Great Western Cattle Trail, the westernmost cattle trail to go through Kansas, actually exited Kansas at the Texas Trail Canyon. Now, I'm sad to say that the historic marker about the Texas Trail Canyon is actually in Nebraska, but it is there. And it's exceptionally beautiful. I love to go there in the spring, especially during a wet spring. Just make sure you do not try to drive those gravel roads when it has been wet, because you might not get back home again. But it's definitely worth a visit, and it is one of the numbered things in the book.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I've heard quite a bit about the Little Jerusalem and lately, but not as much about the Arikari breaks. So that's a neat to continue dispelling the myth that Kansas is flat. That's great. Let's see. Oh, Gretchen asked who is the publisher? Was that Reedy Press, did you say?
That is correct.
Okay, so that Reedy Press. And Forrest is asking, what is one of your favorite places to eat in Kansas?
Well, number one in the book is actually drink Ad Astra Ale at Ad Astra Food and Drink in Strong City. Now, it's number one because food and drink was the number one category, but I also really love Ad Astra. Now, as being from Northwest Kansas, the best date night restaurant in Northwest Kansas is the Elephant Bistro in Hoxie. Emily Campbell was actually from Hoxie, but she got her culinary training in Seattle, came back to Hoxie, turned a abandoned building storefront into a wonderful restaurant, and make sure that you order the s'more, or I think it's called s'mores Rainier or something like that. And they actually bring out your s'mores on a cedar plank and light it on fire in front of you. It's delicious. Let's see. This is not in the book. I'm hoping it will be in another book, I'm hoping to write Unique Eats and Eateries of Kansas. But Elderslie Farms in Wichita is a wonderful experience. Totally farm to fork. They come and bring you one course at a time, and you have this delectable food in front of you and this wonderful service. I highly recommend the experience. And I could go on and on.
Yeah, that sounds really Elderslie Farm. Yeah, I think that's actually, yeah, it's Keachai, right? But which is right near.
Yes,
right near
yes, that's correct.
So,
Keachai.
But yeah, I wonder if they have a Thanksgiving meal. You could go and have a Thanksgiving dinner with them.
Man, if they do, you ought to go check it out.
Yeah. We could skip cooking at our house this year and just go to a great restaurant. Let's see. Oh, and somebody asked. Somebody asked, what's number one? You just said that was the Ad Astra.
Ad Astra, drink Ad Astra Ale at Ad Astra Food and Drink in Strong City.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think of them as being actually ranked 1 through 100. How can you compare Dwight Eisenhower to Oak Park Mall in Overland Park? I mean, you just can't. This is a list of 100 things, of a bucket list of things to do in Kansas, not necessarily a ranking of which is the best thing to do.
Yeah. I guess, thinking about where we're located, which is, 1 county north of Sedgwick, maybe people might be watching, thinking about, they've got the long weekend coming up, thinking about what they could pull off for a road trip over Thanksgiving weekend. Do you have any, I don't know if you have in mind geographically, any suggestions for some road trips for Thanksgiving weekend?
Well, you can always go into the Flint Hills, because you're, very close nearby there. Go to Tall Grass Prairie Preserve, one of my favorite places in the state. I mean, it's a unique environment, and we're saving one of the best best examples of the remaining examples of the tall grass prairie in the world. You could always go north to Lindsborg, one of my favorite places in the state. My husband, full disclosure, my husband is a Bethany College graduate. So he was a Swede for 4 years. I am 1/4 Swede, so I am a Swede forever. And every time I go there, I always feel like I've gone back to grandma's house. Other great day trips. You can go to Dodge City and visit the Boot Hill Museum. Boot Hill Museum only serves soft drinks. So if you're wanting something a little more potent, go up Booze Hill to Boot Hill Distillery. It's actually in a historic building. It was the firehouse. So if they want to give tours, you can actually go and see where they used to hang the hoses in the firehouse. And if the weather is good, take a little more time and go out to Syracuse Sand Dunes in Syracuse, Kansas, and ride your off-road vehicle in the sand dunes.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, you mentioned Dodge City, and I hadn't really thought of that as being in road trip distance, but I guess it's I just did a Google Maps thing on it, and it's just 2.5 hours from Newton. So if you get an early start, you really could do that as a road trip.
That's right.
So it's a big state, but I guess maybe sometimes it's smaller than you think as well.
Well, Newton is somewhat, as far as the southern activities, is somewhat centrally located.
Oh, cool. And then let me see. You mentioned the Elderslie restaurant, which is a Kichai, which is Wichita, Greater Wichita, right? But what others are on the list that are like in Wichita or around it?
Oh, let me think. Every time I go to Wichita, I always find new favorites. So if you go to Old Town Wichita, there's all kinds of wonderful restaurants there. My favorite winery in the state, and that's really going a long way with my favorite winery in Kansas, is Jenny Dawn Cellars. It's downtown Wichita, pretty close to Old Town. Sabor Latin Grill, delicious food, highly recommend that. And of course, if you like museums, Wichita is a prime place for museums. Museum of World Treasures in Old Town, Exploration Place, Kansas Aviation Museum, Kansas African American Museum, all highly recommend.
Yeah. I did see that. I wish I had the copy. The library's copy is checked out at the moment, or I would have it to look at. But I did see that Sand Creek Station Golf Course is on your list of 100, and that's of course right here. And
yes.
So what appealed to you about that and made it so that it made your list of 100 to see before you die?
Well, the actual golf course, because I thought I have to have a golf course. So the actual golf course in there is in Mayetta, but the person who designed that golf course also designed the one in Newton. So I thought, well, let's have that too. Because I thought it was very cool that the only Native American PGA golfer was involved in the design of the one in Mayetta.
Yeah, that's interesting. Neat. I wonder, are there any that what was number 101 for you? What was one that nearly made the cut but not quite?
Oh man. Actually, if once I stop wandering around the stage and actually can be in one place long enough to ride anything again, I made a list of the 5 things that I regret not having in there. One of them was Martinelli's Pasta Restaurant in Salina, which I just love Martinelli's. And how in the world did I miss Martinelli's? What was I thinking? I originally wrote the document in Word, and Word kept messing up my numbers. So I kept having I picked up a notebook the other day, and there were page after page of me trying to figure out how many things I actually had and which thing was what, and all this confusion. So one of the things that hit the cutting room floor was the Horse Thief Reservoir in Jetmore, west of Jetmore. And the title was something like stay in a yurt at Horse Thief Reservoir. A yurt is like a round kind of a hut like the Mongols use in Mongolia. And I just thought, what a cool experience. And I've been to the reservoir. It's very beautiful. But unfortunately, it was one of the ones that had to go because the counting, when I finally got the count figured out, I figured I was about 3 long, to my everlasting frustration.
Yeah. So was the 100 Things to Do in Kansas Before You Die, was that your idea, or was that kind of the format that your publisher wanted you to follow?
That's their series. So they basically kind of have a format. So you have, I think it's 150 to 200 words per thing. And then there's a tip at the bottom, and then you can have venue lists. And then there's only a certain amount of pages that you get. So you can't list everything, but I still was happy that I crammed in over 400 places to visit in Kansas. So nobody can ever say to me that there is nothing to do in this state, because I wrote the book on what to do in Kansas.
Yeah, that's neat. And I guess, now that you're known as a travel writer, I imagine you get people emailing you and saying, "Hey, come and visit my attraction or my."
Well, I hope that has been happening. I have people saying, "Hey, can you come and do a book signing? Can you come and visit our community?" So yeah, it's very exciting.
And then tell me a bit about your blog, the Roxie on the Road. It's roxieontheroad.com. And then is that where you do, like, didn't you say, yeah, you guys see like the top 10 things to do in Northeast and South Central, and you do these different kind of blog articles that you publish and post?
Right. So I will be in Junction City for a week, not next week, but the week after. And so you'll see some things some of the posts for Junction City on my social media sites. Beyond the next one on the top 10 things to do in this region, I believe will be Southwest Kansas. And of course, the top 5 things that I really wish that were in the 100 Things book is an upcoming post as well.
Oh. How do you handle like your own travel around the state? Do you tend to do day trips, or do you kind of plan out multi-day trips where you drive around, or what's your approach to having a fun Kansas tourism trip around different places?
If I'm not actually hosted, a lot of times when my husband is off, we'll just jump on the car and we'll just go somewhere.
So that's, like, you're not a big detail planner. You just like to be a bit more spontaneous, maybe.
Both.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I mean, if I have a long trip planned, especially, then I'll pretty much plan it out. Okay, it takes so long to go from point A to point B. These are the things I want to stop at. But oh, well, this looks more interesting than what I already had planned on the itinerary. Poof, the itinerary goes out the window, and we go do this other thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, do you know if there are 100 Things books published for our surrounding states yet?
There is a 100 Things Nebraska book. I don't know about Oklahoma. There is at least 100 Things Denver. I'm not sure about Colorado.
Oh, cool.
There is a book coming out soon, 100 Things to Do in Wichita Before You Die. Vanessa Whiteside is writing that book.
Oh, just in Wichita.
So she has submitted it to the publisher. I don't know for sure what the publication date will be. So you'll definitely want to look for that.
Yeah, we definitely will. And maybe somebody watching will want to write the 100 things to do in Newton, or
There you
100
go.
things in Harvey County, maybe. I don't, yeah. Somebody asked, how much is the book?
$19.95 is list price. In most counties of Kansas, it's $21.75. You can just order it from me and I will autograph it for you and ship it. RoxieOnTheRoad.com/shop.
Neat. Let's see here. I guess I'm sure people always ask you to pick a favorite. Are you willing to pick a favorite or a personal
Well, I'm
favorite?
going to make Sherry Gregory's Day the Rickory Breaks.
The Rickory Breaks. Okay.
Because it's close to home. My husband's actually from Cheyenne County, and so many people don't know about it.
Mm-hmm. And so you're still writing for you're still a newspaper woman, right? You're still writing for the paper?
No, now the funny thing is I do not write for newspapers, but the state's media has been extremely good to me, and I've been in papers all over the state.
Mm-hmm.
I have an interview with the Concordia radio station tomorrow.
Oh, cool. Great. Well, I think that probably can wrap it up. Roxie, thank you for being with us this evening and sharing some ideas and 100 things to do in Kansas. As I said, we do have a copy at the library. It's currently checked out, and I think that there's some people already on the whole list, but you can add your name to that if you want to get a look at it and maybe try before you buy on RoxieOnTheRoad.com, or I'm sure Amazon and places like that have it as well.
Yes, it's been a bestseller in its category on Amazon. I'm so proud of that.
Oh, that is awesome.
I haven't looked at it for the last couple of weeks, but for a while it was a #1 new release in its Midwest travel guide category. So I was thrilled to death.
Yeah, that's
I've already sold over 1,000 books.
Wow, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's great to, I've talked with so many people that are self-publishing their books, and, it's great that you were able to team up with a publisher that has, they already have a business model and a plan that you can kind of follow and promote it and distribute it. So that's awesome.
I see that Sherry asked, what would make people's visit to the breaks more meaningful? I would suggest that you stop by the kiosk in the Riverside Park and pick up a map, because you will not want to rely on your cell phone.
Okay. Right. Oh yeah. Right. It's probably the no cellular service out when you get out in the breaks.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
No cellular service, and make sure you fill up before you leave.
Okay. Gets kind of feel like you're in the wilderness a bit.
Yes, you're out there remote, and it's very easy to imagine, especially now that there's actually buffalo out there in the breaks. So it's very easy to imagine that you're back in the frontier days.
Neat. Yeah. And I know that also in your book is some other nature preserves, and I think some of the people watching are in our Fourth Tuesday photography group, and I know that they love to go to those with their cameras and do nature photography. So
easy road trip, Maxwell Wildlife Reserve is in McPherson. Very easy road trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an amazing place. Yeah, a lot of people talk about this. And Sherry asked, will this be available to watch later? Yes. As soon as I sign off, it'll be, there's usually a brief delay, and then it'll be on our Facebook page for you to replay. And then once I get the video downloaded and edited, I will get it posted on the Newton Public Library YouTube channel as well.
Perfect.
So you can watch it later, share it with your friends. Thanks again, Roxie, and enjoy your future travels.
Thank you. I will.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.